Welcome to Daily Newscast. Today is September 18th, 2025, and this is episode 13.
Great to be with you. We've got quite a mix today, diving into some really fascinating developments across the globe.
Absolutely. And we know many of you listen while you're, walking the dog, maybe cooking dinner, or even during your workout.
Yeah, it's perfect for multitasking. And just a reminder, if the conversation feels a bit quick at times, you can always adjust the playback speed on your podcast app. Maybe try 0.75x, see how that feels.
Good tip. Okay, so today we're covering 5 main areas. First up, there's a worrying trend in France, a wave of museum thefts and cyber attacks that are really exposing how vulnerable some national treasures are.
Then we'll shift to technology and law. Italy has just passed a groundbreaking AI regulation, the first of its kind in Europe, really. And tied into that, we'll look at how French museums have also been hit hard by cyber attacks, connecting the digital and physical threats.
After that, we're heading into the world of finance and luxury. Big news from Gucci, with a new CEO appointed as part of a major restructuring at its parent company, Kering.
And for sports fans, we've got an absolutely incredible Champions League match to talk about. Juventus versus Borussia Dortmund. Goals galore, high drama, you name it.
Sounds amazing. And finally, for entertainment, there's a brand new Netflix crime thriller called Black Rabbit, starring Jason Bateman and Jude. We'll dig into what makes that tick.
So, quite the range today. Culture, tech, business, sports, and entertainment. Where should we start? That story about the museum thefts sounds pretty dramatic.
I agree. Let's start there. It really feels like culture is under siege in France right now. We're seeing this disturbing pattern of really brazen museum heists.
Yeah, it's more than just isolated incidents. It feels like a coordinated wave, and it's incredibly concerning for anyone who cares about cultural heritage.
Take the Musée Cognac J in Paris. Back in November 2024, they had this, bold daytime theft. Thieves armed with axes just burst in.
Axis in broad daylight.
Exactly. And they made off with 7 really valuable 18th century snuff boxes. Tiny, intricate things, but worth a fortune.
And weren't some of those on loan?
Yes. 2 of them were actually on loan from the British Crown. The Royal Collection Trust eventually got an insurance payout, something like over £3 million, which is close to $4 million US.
Wow. But the items themselves are irreplaceable, right? Insurance money doesn't bring back history.
Absolutely not. And the exhibition, where they were displayed, Luxe de Poche, pocket luxury, it had to be closed down permanently after the theft. Just gone.
That's tragic. And you said this wasn't the only one.
Not by a long shot. Then there's the Adrien Dubouche National Museum in Limoges. They're famous for Limoges porcelain, have the world's biggest public collection, actually.
Okay, so what happened there?
Early one morning, thieves smashed a window, got in, and stole just 3 specific porcelain works. But these weren't just any pieces. They were classified as national treasures.
National treasures, so incredibly valuable.
Estimated losses around 6.5 million euros just for those 3 items. And the museum has something like 18,000 works, so the thieves knew exactly what they were after.
That points to some serious planning, not just a random smash and grab. They had a shopping list.
Precisely. The museum director, Emmanuel Skoulios, even said they were dealing with an extremely professional team who knew where to go and had professional gear. He said it was absolutely not by chance they targeted those specific pieces.
And I heard there was another incident right after the Cognac J heist.
Yes, the very next day, a jewelry theft worth several million euros happened at a museum in Saône-et-Loire. It just reinforces this idea of a coordinated pattern, maybe even the same group.
The methods sound pretty brutal, too. Axes, angle grinders, blowtorches mentioned in some reports. It's like something out of a movie.
It really is. And it reminds you of past incidents, like Vigeron Tomic, the guy they called Spider-Man, who stole over 100 million euros worth of art from the Musée d'Art Moderne in Paris back in 2010.
Ah, yes, I remember that. Didn't that expose some massive security failures, like alarms being switched off?
Exactly. Alarms out of order for months, guards somehow not noticing him. It shows that even heavily protected places can be vulnerable.
So we have these physical heists, but didn't you mention cyber attacks earlier? How does that fit in?
Right, that's the other side of this coin. And it connects directly to our next topic, the digital frontier, specifically Italy's new AI law and these cyber threats. Because some of these physical thefts are actually being enabled by digital weaknesses.
Okay, so there's a link between the physical break-ins and cybersecurity.
Yes, a very direct one in some cases.
Yeah.
Take the Natural History Museum in Paris again. They recently had a break-in where gold samples worth around $600,000, maybe $700,000 were stolen.
Gold samples, okay.
But here's the crucial part. The museum's alarm and surveillance systems had been disabled by a cyber attack back in July.
Disabled. So the thieves knew the systems were down.
The sources strongly suggest they were perfectly aware of the vulnerability. It implies they either orchestrated the cyber attack themselves or knew about it and exploited the window of opportunity. It's a hybrid crime using digital means to enable a physical theft.
That's chilling. It adds a whole new layer of sophistication to these crimes. You're not just fighting break-ins, you're fighting hackers who might be paving the way for them.
Exactly. And this vulnerability isn't just hitting museums. We saw luxury group Kering. They own Gucci, Balenciaga, Alexander McQueen. They were hit by a cyber attack in June.
Kering, what happened there?
A group of hackers called Shiny Hunters claimed they got hold of personal customer data, names, addresses, purchase history maybe. It exposes a totally different kind of vulnerability, financial and personal data, which is just as valuable in its own way.
So whether it's centuries-old artifacts or modern customer data, digital security is absolutely paramount.
It really is. And that brings us nicely to what Italy is trying to do with its new AI law. While criminals are exploiting digital weaknesses, Italy is trying to build a stronger, more ethical digital future, specifically around artificial intelligence.
Okay, so tell us about this Italian AI law. I heard it's quite groundbreaking.
It really is. Approved by the government at the end of April, it's basically a comprehensive national strategy for AI. And the big deal is, Italy's the first EU country to pass such a wide-ranging national law before the big EU-wide AI Act fully comes into effect. They're kind of getting ahead of the curve.
So they're setting their own rules, anticipating what the broader EU might do?
Pretty much. It lays down some core principles for any AI systems used or developed there. Transparency, proportionality, security, data protection, confidentiality, accuracy, non-discrimination, gender equality, and sustainability is quite a list.
That sounds very thorough, very focused on the human impact and ethical considerations.
Definitely. And it's not just about saying these things. The law demands proof. AI systems need to be built using data and processes that are correct, reliable, secure, high quality, appropriate, and transparent.
And they have to document it all.
Meticulously. Every step of development, implementation, usage, it needs to be documented.
Yeah.
That's a huge burden potentially for companies.
Yeah, that sounds like it could create what some people call a layered regulatory environment. Like, you'll have the main EU rules eventually, but then countries like Italy add their own specific requirements on top.
Exactly. So if you're a company, especially one outside the EU, wanting to offer AI services inside, you don't just comply with the EU Act. You also have to figure out Italy's specific rules and maybe Germany's and France's. It gets complicated fast.
It sounds like the GDPR aftermath all over again, but for AI. More complexity, more costs for businesses trying to navigate the European market.
For sure. And the law gets really specific in certain sectors. Take healthcare, for example.
AI in healthcare, that's a big one. Huge potential, but also huge risks with personal data.
Right. The law recognizes the potential, but puts a heavy emphasis on protecting people's rights and data. If you want to use AI for, say, medical research using Italian data, you need approval from ethical committees. You need to notify the Data Protection Authority.
So, lots of bureaucratic hoops to jump through. Seems like it. Sources mention this creating increased and unexpected financial and time costs, especially for foreign companies. It could potentially slow down innovation in sensitive areas like healthcare, even if the intentions are good.
It's a tricky balance, isn't it? Protecting citizens versus fostering innovation. What about other areas like work or creative industries?
Yeah, it touches on those too. In the workplace, employers using AI have to inform their workers. Transparency is key. And for intellectual property, it's interesting.
How so?
Well, it requires machine-readable watermarks on AI-generated content, so you can tell if something was made by AI.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it gives copyright holders clearer ways to opt out of having their work used for text and data mining, which is how many AI models are trained, scraping massive amounts of data.
That's a big issue for creators right now. Does it say anything about whether AI-generated work itself can be copyrighted? It says that for a work to get copyright protection, there needs to be a human contribution that's creative, relevant, and provable. So purely machine-generated stuff without that clear human intellectual effort might not qualify. You need to be able to show the human input.
So documentation becomes important there too. What about children? AI is everywhere. Kids are online now.
Yes, there's a strong focus on kids. Access to AI systems for anyone under 14 now requires parental consent.
That's a significant step.
And they're pushing this idea of children's rights by design. Basically, Thinking about protecting kids' rights right from the start when you're building an AI system, not as an afterthought, they want to integrate this into testing environments called regulatory sandboxes by 2026.
Children's rights by design. I like that. It sounds very proactive. So who's going to enforce all of this in Italy?
They're setting up two main bodies. AJD, the Agency for Digital Italy, will focus on promoting AI innovation. And ACN, the National Cybersecurity Agency, will handle the cybersecurity oversight and inspections.
Interesting split. Any bureaucratic turf wars over who gets to be in charge?
Well, there was apparently some contention. The Italian Data Protection Authority had suggested they were more qualified to be the main AI authority. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of jostling for position there.
Always happens. Are they putting money behind the innovation side too, or is it all just regulation?
They are putting money in. The government plans up to 1 billion euros in venture capital investments for AI startups, even ones based abroad if they set up shop in Italy. The goal is to create a national AI champion.
€1 billion. That sounds like a lot of money.
It is, but context is important. Some critics point out that it pales beside the investments being made by the United States or China, or even by France and Germany within Europe.
Right, so ambitious regulations, but maybe not quite the same level of funding firepower as the global giants.
That seems to be the critique. It raises questions about whether Italy can truly compete for global AI leadership based on this investment alone, even with the strong regulatory framework.
And what happens if someone misuses AI under this new law? Are there specific penalties?
Yes, the consequences are serious. If you use AI to commit crimes like fraud, identity theft, market manipulation, money laundering, that's now considered an aggravating circumstance.
What does aggravating circumstance mean in practice?
It means the potential sentence for the underlying crime could be increased, potentially by up to a third. Judges still make the final call, but the law empowers courts to order rapid takedowns of illegal AI-generated material, too. It shows they see AI as a potential tool for serious crime.
So the takeaway for businesses and individuals, especially in Europe, is that the landscape for AI is getting much more complex. You've got these national laws adding layers onto potential EU rules. It's something everyone needs to watch closely.
Definitely. It impacts everything from how you develop products to how you handle data to your legal responsibilities.
Okay, we've covered some heady topics: museum heists, cyber threats, complex AI regulations. Maybe we should shift gears to something a bit lighter, although still high stakes in its own way. How about that Gucci news?
Good idea. Let's talk about the world of luxury fashion. Big changes happening at Kering, the parent company, and specifically at Gucci.
Right. They've appointed a new president and CEO for Gucci, effective just yesterday, September 17th. Her name is Francesca Bellettini.
And this isn't just a routine appointment, is it? The timing seems significant.
Not at all. Sources are calling it a response to a deepening crisis at Gucci. That's strong language for such an iconic brand.
What kind of crisis? Gucci always seems so dominant.
Well, appearances can be deceiving. Sales have really slowed down. They saw a 21% drop last year and apparently another 25% decline in the first half of this year.
Wow, those are significant drops. Any idea why?
It's likely a mix of factors. The overall luxury market has faced some headwinds, but there are also questions about whether Gucci's creative direction under the previous leadership resonated as widely as it once did. Sometimes brands need a refresh to reconnect with consumers.
And since Gucci is such a huge part of Kering's overall business,
Exactly. It accounts for nearly half their total sales. So revitalizing Gucci is absolutely critical for Kering right now. It's seen as the priority.
and this appointment is part of a bigger shuffle at Kering too, right?
Yeah.
There's a new overall CEO there as well.
Yes. Luca Di Maio officially took over as Kering's CEO just a few days ago on September 15th. He actually came from the auto industry, from Renault.
From cars to couture. Interesting move.
It is. And he's immediately started simplifying the organization, getting rid of deputy CEO roles, aiming for a leaner and clearer organization, putting their best talent, like Bellettini, directly in charge of the brands. It suggests a push for more agility and direct accountability.
So Francesca Bellettini, what's her background? Why is she seen as the one who can turn Gucci around?
She has a really impressive track record within Kering itself. She's worked at Gucci before and also at Bottega Veneta. But her biggest success story is Saint Laurent.
What does she do at Saint Laurent?
She was CEO there for about a decade, and during that time, she led a massive turnaround. Revenue increased sixfold under her leadership. She turned it into one of Kering's most successful and consistent brands.
Okay, a sixfold increase.
Yeah.
That's impressive. No wonder they tapped her for Gucci.
Exactly. She's seen as a seasoned and respected professional, someone with proven experience in exactly this kind of brand revitalization. Luca Di Maio said she's the one to restore the brand to its rightful place. The expectations are sky high.
And she'll be working with Gucci's creative director, Demna, right? His first collection is coming up soon.
Yes, his first collection is set to show during Milan Fashion Week on September 24th. That will be a huge moment. Everyone will be watching to see the creative direction and how it aligns with Bellatini's new commercial strategy. That partnership between the CEO and the creative director is absolutely crucial in luxury fashion.
It definitely is. And Kering as a whole needs this to work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned their profits were down significantly.
Hugely. A 46% plunge in net profit in the first half of this year. That's a massive hit. And on top of that, they had the Shiny Hunter cyber attack we talked about earlier, impacting customer trust and data security for Gucci and other brands.
So it's in a perfect storm almost. Financial pressure, brand challenges, cyber threats. Bellatini is stepping in at a really critical time.
Absolutely. It really highlights the immense pressures and rapid changes within the global luxury industry. It's not just about pretty clothes, it's high-stakes global business, strategy, branding, and increasingly managing digital risks.
It really makes you appreciate the complexity behind those glossy magazine ads and storefronts. Okay, from high fashion, let's switch to high drama on the pitch. That Juventus-Dortmund match sounds like it was something else.
Oh, it was unforgettable. Champions League match in Turin, September 16th. It ended 4-4.
4-4. Wow. Was it just end-to-end action from the start?
Actually, no. That's what makes it even more remarkable. The first half was 0-0. All 8 goals came in the second half.
All 8 goals in 45 minutes. That's insane.
It was incredible, just a whirlwind. Dortmund scored first through Ajidemi. Then Juventus equalized through Kenan Yildiz.
Okay, back and forth.
Then Dortmund went ahead again, Felix Machaka. But Juventus hit back again. Dusan Vlahovic scored 2-2.
Still anyone's game.
Then Dortmund seemed to take control. Young Kudo made it 3-2. And then, in the 86th minute, Rami Bensebaini scored a penalty to make it 4-2 for Dortmund.
4-2 with only 4 minutes plus stoppage time left? You'd think that was game over.
Absolutely. Most teams would crumble. But Juventus, they just kept fighting. In stoppage time, Vlahovic popped up again, 94th minute, made it 4-3.
Injecting some hope.
And then deep into stoppage time, 96th minute, an Englishman, Lloyd Kelly, who had actually given away a penalty earlier in the game, scored the equalizer with a header.
No way. The guy who gave away the penalty scores the equalizer in the 96th minute.
Yep. Incredible redemption story for him. Vlahovic provided the cross, finishing with 2 goals and an assist after coming on as a sub. What a performance from him.
That's the kind of drama only sports can deliver, isn't it? What did the players and coaches say afterwards?
Vlahovic talked about using recent criticism as motivation, saying he's never really satisfied and always hungry. You could feel his determination.
But the coach,
Yeah,
maybe less thrilled with conceding 4 goals.
exactly. Igor Tudor, the Juventus coach, basically said, "I have had enough of this type of match. We are conceding too many. We cannot carry on like this." He appreciated the fight back, obviously, but you can understand his frustration with the defensive side.
A real mix of emotions then. Thrilling for the fans, stressful for the coach. Were there other exciting games that night? Any big upsets?
Yeah, a few other notable results. Real Madrid beat Marseille 2-1 with Mbappe getting both goals. Tottenham beat Villarreal 1-0 thanks to an own goal,
A
actually.
bit lucky there for Spurs.
But the real shocks. Karabag from Azerbaijan won 3-2 away at Benfica in Portugal. They were 2-0 down early on, too.
Wow, that's a massive upset. Benfica are regulars in the latter stages.
A huge result for Karabag. And Union St. Gilloise, the Belgian champions, won 3-1 away at PSV Eindhoven in their very first Champions League group stage match ever.
Fantastic debut for them. So lots of excitement across the competition that night.
Definitely shows the unpredictability and magic of European football. You just never know what's going to happen.
It's those stories of resilience, comebacks, and underdogs winning that keep us all watching, I think. Okay, let's transition from real-life drama to fictional drama. Netflix's Black Rabbit.
Right, this just dropped today, September 18th. Big names involved. Jason Bateman and Jude Law playing brothers, Vince and Jake Friedkin in New York City.
What's the basic premise?
Jake, played by Law, is a successful restaurateur kind of on the up and up. But his brother Vince, Bateman's character, is much more unpredictable, debt-ridden, and basically drags Jake into the criminal underworld. Classic setup, really.
Sounds like it draws inspiration from those gritty New York crime thrillers, maybe Scorsese's Mean Streets or something like that.
Definitely seems to be aiming for that vibe. Think Dog Day Afternoon, maybe even Uncut Gems in its intensity. But some critics are saying it doesn't quite hit the mark.
Oh, what are the criticisms?
Some reviews mention it lacks emotional depth and dramatic weight, that it feels a bit algorithm-driven, constantly throwing shocking events at you rather than letting the characters develop believably. Though they do concede it maintains atmosphere, energy, or intensity, so maybe style over substance for some.
A mixed bag then. But you mentioned Bateman and Law. Does their dynamic work?
Apparently that's where the show really shines. The relationship between the brothers, their bond, is what gives the series its credibility, especially when it explores that connection deeply.
How do they explore it?
There are childhood flashbacks that reveal a really dark secret. Vince actually killed their abusive father years ago to protect Jake, and Jake knew about it. This shared trauma creates this almost unbreakable toxic bond where Jake constantly tries to protect Vince despite all the trouble he causes.
Wow, okay, that adds a lot of weight to their relationship.
Yeah.
Does it end well for them?
Not really. It's quite tragic, actually. In the end, Vince, seeing the ruin he's causing, especially wanting to protect his own daughter and Jake, chooses to end his life by throwing himself off a roof.
Jeez, that's heavy. So despite the criticisms, there's some real emotional depth there in the brothers' story.
It seems so. That core relationship provides the anchor. And another thing praised is the use of real New York locations.
Oh yeah, where did they film?
All over. Coney Island features prominently the aquarium, the Cyclone roller coaster. And interestingly, they set the Mancuso crime family's betting operation literally underneath the 10th Street Russian and Turkish baths in the East Village.
The actual place. They use the real name and everything.
Yep. Apparently, the production decided to keep the real name and location, which really blurs that line between fiction and reality, making the city itself feel like a character. It adds to that gritty authenticity.
That's a cool touch. And there's something else really unique about the casting, isn't there? Regarding the crime boss.
Yes, and this is fascinating. Troy Kotsur plays Joe Mancuso, the crime boss, and Kotsur is a deaf actor. He won an Oscar for Coda, remember?
Of course. How was his character portrayed?
Mancuso communicates using American Sign Language, ASL. Kotsur apparently suggested that Mancuso often signs with just one hand, implying he's always holding a gun in the other.
That's a brilliant character detail.
Isn't it? And the show makes a point that Mancuso's whole crew is proficient in ASL, showing the respect they have for him. Kotsur himself said he specifically wanted to play a deaf villain, because too often deaf characters are just portrayed as victims.
That's fantastic. It's great representation and sounds like a really compelling character choice. Adds another unique layer to the show.
It really does. So while the overall reviews are mixed, some calling it one of Netflix's best crime thrillers, others finding it a bit hollow despite the star power, it definitely offers things to talk about. The sibling dynamic, the authentic setting, and this really groundbreaking portrayal by Troy Kotsur.
It sounds like it's worth checking out, even just for those elements. It explores those themes of crime, family, loyalty, and does it with some unique casting choices.
Exactly. It shows how entertainment can tackle complex themes and push boundaries in representation.
So we've covered quite a bit today, from stolen artifacts and cyber threats
To groundbreaking AI laws, high-stakes business decisions, and luxury fashion.
an absolute wild football match and a complex new crime thriller.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? Technology impacting security, business reacting to market shifts, human drama playing out everywhere.
Absolutely. The common thread seems to be constant change, adaptation, and unexpected challenges popping up all over the place.
Whether you're trying to write laws for the future like Italy, protect the past like those French museums, score a last-minute goal, or reinvent a global brand, you have to be ready for anything.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? It's really an invitation to think about how these different forces shape our world, often in ways we don't immediately see.
Yeah, it's about seeing the connections. How a cyber attack over here can lead to a physical theft over there. How a new regulation in one country can impact businesses globally. It's all linked.
It's a reminder to stay informed, stay curious, and maybe question what's really going on beneath the surface of the daily headlines.
And perhaps the final thought to leave you with is this. In a world changing this fast, across technology, culture, business, how do we ensure we're adapting quickly enough, not just reacting, but proactively shaping a future that reflects our values?
A great question to ponder. That brings us to the end of this deep dive.
Thanks for listening to Daily Newscast. We hope you found it informative and engaging.
Please do like, subscribe, and maybe leave us a comment if you enjoyed the episode or have thoughts on the topics we discussed.
We'll be back tomorrow with another look at the latest developments. See you then.